Here's something that might shock longtime comedy fans. After 4 decades of waiting, Spinal Tap II: The End Continues proves that sometimes lightning doesn't strike twice in the same place. But here's where it gets controversial. Is this sequel actually what we needed, or just what we wanted? With legendary rock acts like Black Sabbath barely making it to their reunion shows, The Who stretching their final farewell tour into what feels like eternity, and Megadeth announcing yet another definitive last hurrah, the timing couldn't be more perfect for the comeback of rock's most hilariously dysfunctional fictional trio. After an astonishing 41-year gap since their mockumentary masterpiece earned its cult classic status, we're finally reunited with the magnificently absurd Nigel Tufnell, Christopher Guest, David St. Hubbins, Michael McKean, and Derek Small, Harry Shearer, in their full, ridiculous splendor. And this is the part most people miss. Director Martin DeBurgi, Rob Reiner, returns too, that well-intentioned yet perpetually confused documentary filmmaker who's back to document the band's journey as they attempt a reunion performance 15 years after their dramatic split. The follow-up, which appears to be largely improvised rather than traditionally scripted by the same quartet of creative minds, sticks remarkably close to the successful formula that made the original so memorable. DeBurgi, whose filmmaking career has apparently stalled since his initial Spinal Tap project, tracks down each band member to see how they've been surviving in the real world. What he discovers is both endearing and absurd. Nigel has become the owner of an unusual Northern England establishment that sells both cheese and guitars. David has relocated to Morro Bay, California, where he creates background music for true crime podcasts and those mind-numbing tunes you hear while waiting on hold. While Derek operates a rather hazardous glue museum where he personally demonstrates the sticky exhibits. Despite harboring deep-seated grudges and unresolved conflicts from their past, the trio decides to reunite for what they're calling their ultimate farewell performance in New Orleans. However, they face an immediate challenge that's become something of a trademark for the band: finding a new drummer, considering their previous percussionists have had a tendency to meet rather unfortunate and mysterious fates. After conducting a series of absolutely catastrophic auditions and being rejected by notable musicians including Questlove, Lars Ulrich, and Chad Smith, they eventually discover Dee Dee, Valerie Franco, who embraces the chaotic energy perfectly. She's both talented and full of life, though Derek predictably wastes zero time attempting to charm her. The band also acquires new representation through Simon, Chris Addison, an insufferably pretentious publicist whose most brilliant marketing advice involves suggesting that one or more band members should die to boost ticket sales. While preparing for their upcoming performance, they receive visits from genuine music legends like Paul McCartney, whose thoughtful suggestions are politely dismissed. "We'll take it under advisement," Nigel responds with characteristic snobbery, and Elton John, who claims to be a devoted longtime admirer. Various merchandising opportunities are presented to the group, including the literal Spinal Tap water, which is exactly as straightforward as it sounds. But here's where opinions might split dramatically. The comedy style remains consistently dry and understated, yet as these examples demonstrate, it tends to provoke mild amusement rather than the belly laughs that made the original so groundbreaking. Like countless delayed sequels before it, Spinal Tap II: The End Continues relies heavily on audience nostalgia and genuine affection for its predecessor, going so far as to include appearances from original film veterans like Fran Drescher and Paul Schaefer. There's even a touching tribute to the late Tony Hendra, who portrayed the band's manager Ian Faith, represented here by Carrie Godleman playing Faith's daughter Hope. John Michael Higgins, a regular fixture in Christopher Guest's mockumentary projects, makes a delightful, brief appearance as a Jack LaLanne-inspired fitness instructor tasked with the questionable mission of getting the Spinal Tap members into performance shape. Some comedic moments are incredibly niche, such as when the band recreates the iconic Crosby, Stills, Nash album cover pose, actually photographed by the original photographer Henry Diltz. Other running gags, particularly the ghost tour groups that keep wandering through the New Orleans house where the band is staying, quickly become tiresome and overstay their welcome. Yet there's genuinely plenty to appreciate here. Guest, McKean, and Shearer have inhabited these wonderfully ridiculous English characters through various projects since the original film, and they've become so naturally comfortable and entertaining in these roles that their performances can't help but generate genuine laughter. The reunion concert sequence is absolutely delightful, particularly the Stonehenge performance featuring Elton John on lead vocals, which manages to be even more spectacularly disastrous than the original version. And this brings us to the real question that most critics won't ask. Does this sequel succeed because it captures the original's magic? Or does it work precisely because it doesn't try to recreate that lightning in a bottle moment? What do you think? Should beloved comedy classics be left untouched? Or is there value in revisiting these characters even when the results are more nostalgic than revolutionary? Share your thoughts on whether this sequel hits the right notes or if some things are better left in the past.